All right, listeners, ready for this? We're going deep on TikTok direct messages today, specifically on your Android phone. And you know what's funny? Our source material is like super serious about this. Like TikTok DMs are some kind of secret weapon.
Well, there's definitely a strategy to using DMs effectively.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just about like shouting into the void. It's more about building those one-on-one connections, which is what social media is all about, right?
So less random shout outs, more cultivating a following.
Gotcha. I like that. Now, I'm sure you're all pros at navigating TikTok, but for those who haven't really explored this part of the app, where do we even start?
It all starts with that little inbox icon. But here's the thing. Don't just think of it as a place to see messages. It's really more like a hub for managing different kinds of interactions. You can actually customize your notification settings for each category, so you're not drowning in alerts.
Yeah.
But you're also not missing those important messages.
Ooh, that's smart. I'm already feeling more organized. So let's say I want to send a DM. Do I just like pick someone from my followers list and fire away? You could. But if you want to stand out,
Yeah.
you got to put a little thought into it. Think about it. You wouldn't just walk up to someone at a party and start talking about your cat.
Great. Unless it's a really impressive cat.
Yeah.
But point taken. So how do you make a good first impression in the DM world?
Well, think about why you're messaging them. Have you interacted with their content before? Is there something specific you admire about their work? Maybe you have a question that goes beyond a simple comment.
It's about starting a real conversation, not just blasting out generic messages. Makes sense.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of clear, well-written messages. You want to come across as thoughtful, not sloppy.
Okay, so no rambling emoji-filled walls of text. But what about emojis in general? Our source material mentions using them strategically. Is there like a secret emoji code I should know?
Not exactly a secret code, but think of emojis and GIFs as ways to enhance your message, not replace it. A well-placed emoji can add personality or emphasize a point. Too many can be a bit overwhelming.
It's all about balance. You want to be engaging, but not obnoxious. What about if I'm receiving messages? Are there any settings I should be aware of beyond the basics?
Absolutely. You can actually control who can DM you in the first place. This is where those privacy settings are super important. Maybe you only want DMs from people you follow. Or maybe you want to limit messages from accounts that have just been created. You can really customize your experience.
So it's like having a virtual bouncer for your DMs. I love it. Now let's say I've sent a message, and it's out there in the digital ether. Is there a way to track its journey? Like, do I get a notification when it's been read?
You do. TikTok actually has read receipts for DMs. So you'll see a little check mark next to your message once the other person has seen it. But here's the catch. People can turn off read receipts in their privacy settings.
Ooh, so it's not a foolproof system. There's still an element of mystery.
Exactly. And sometimes that's part of the fun. But before we get too lost in the intrigue of read receipts, we should probably talk about what happens when things go wrong. Like, what if my message just doesn't send? Is that a sign of the apocalypse?
I mean, I hope not.
Hmm?
But our source material seems pretty concerned about troubleshooting, so it must be serious business.
Well, it's not quite apocalyptic, but it can be frustrating. The usual suspects apply here. Make sure your app is updated, your internet connection is stable, and you haven't accidentally blocked the person you're trying to reach.
So good old-fashioned tech support basics. Got it. But what if it's not a technical issue? What if the person I'm trying to message has their privacy settings on lockdown?
That's definitely a possibility. If someone has restricted their DMs to only their followers, you won't be able to message them unless you're on that list. And that's a good reminder. Always respect people's boundaries and preferences.
Right. Sliding into DMs should be about connection, not intrusion. So we've covered the basics of finding your inbox, crafting that first message, and even navigating those wild privacy settings. I feel like we're off to a pretty good start. But this is just the tip of the iceberg, right? There's got to be more to these DMs.
Oh, there's so much more. Direct messaging is about so much more than just sending quick notes. It's about fostering communities, sparking collaborations, and building relationships that go beyond the surface. And that's where things get really interesting.
Okay, I'm really intrigued. Let's take a quick break so everyone can process this info. We'll be back soon to dive into that next level of DM mastery.
We're back and ready to explore those deeper levels of TikTok DMs. You know, it's funny when you think of social media, it's easy to focus on the broadcasting aspect. But DMs bring back that intimate one-on-one element that we often miss.
Yeah, it's like the difference between giving a speech to a huge crowd and having a heartfelt conversation with a friend. But DMs aren't just about one-on-one chats, are they? Our source material mentioned group chats too, and that seems like a whole other beast.
Oh, group chats are definitely where things get interesting.
Yeah.
Imagine this, a creator launches a new product, and instead of just announcing it to their millions of followers, they drop the news first in a group chat with their most dedicated fans. It creates this feeling of exclusivity and connection.
That's brilliant. It's like a VIP experience, and it turns a simple product launch into a shared event. I can see why creators would be all over that.
Exactly, and it's not just for creators either. Think about businesses or brands that want to foster a sense of community around their products. Group chats can be a way to get feedback, brainstorm ideas, even offer exclusive deals. It's a level of engagement you just can't get from a traditional marketing campaign.
Okay, I'm sold on the power of group chats. But let's say I'm a newbie to the group chat scene. Is there anything I should keep in mind before jumping in?
Well, first off, think about the purpose of the group chat. Is it for casual banter with friends, or is there a more specific goal, like collaborating on a project? The tone and dynamics will be very different depending on the purpose.
That makes sense. You wouldn't want to accidentally drop a meme into a serious work-related group chat.
Yeah.
Talk about awkward.
Right. And speaking of awkward, remember that group chat etiquette matters. Don't spam the chat with irrelevant messages. Be respectful of everyone's opinions and avoid those sensitive topics that can lead to arguments.
It's like the digital equivalent of knowing when to speak up and when to listen in a group setting. But what about those moments when you do want to speak up, but maybe not for everyone to hear? Our source material mentions something called vanishing messages. Is that like a secret agent tool for TikTok?
Not quite, but it's definitely a cool feature. Vanishing messages allow you to send a message that disappears after a certain amount of time. It's great for sharing something that's time sensitive or maybe just a silly joke that you don't want to live on in the chat history forever.
I can see that being useful for, say, sending someone a surprise birthday message that disappears at midnight. It adds an element of fun and urgency. But what about those times when you want to make sure someone has seen your message? Does TikTok have anything like those dreaded read receipts?
They do,
Mm.
but it's not as anxiety-inducing as you might think. You'll see a little check mark next to your message once it's been viewed, which can be helpful for knowing if someone has actually seen an important message.
Okay, so no more wondering if your friend is just ignoring you or if their phone is just buried under a pile of laundry. But you mentioned earlier that people can turn off read receipts. Does that mean it's a bit of a trust exercise?
In a way, yes. But remember, people have different comfort levels when it comes to privacy and communication. It's all about respecting individual preferences.
Speaking of privacy, that's a topic that always comes up with social media. Are there any specific safety tips we should be aware of when it comes to TikTok DMs?
Absolutely. First and foremost, always be cautious about sharing personal information. Even if you think you know someone well online, it's always best to err on the side of caution. And if someone sends you a message that makes you uncomfortable, don't hesitate to block or report them.
That's good advice for any online interaction, really. Trust your gut and don't be afraid to set boundaries. But what about the content of our messages? Is there anything else we should keep in mind?
It's always a good idea to be mindful of the tone and content you're sharing. Remember, even in private messages, things can be screenshotted or shared. So always be respectful and think about how your words might be perceived by others.
That's a great reminder. It's easy to forget that digital communication, even in DMs, still has real-world implications. But beyond those basic safety tips, are there any other things our listeners should know about navigating the world of TikTok DMs?
Well, the most important thing is to remember that DMs are a tool that can be used for casual conversation, building communities, fostering collaborations, or even marketing your brand. But the key is to use them strategically and authentically. Don't be afraid to experiment, find what works for you, and most importantly, have fun.
That's a great point. It's easy to get caught up in the technical details or the strategic aspects, but at the end of the day, TikTok is all about being creative and connecting with others, and DMs are a powerful way to do just that. We've covered a lot of ground here, from the basics of sending a message to the power of group chats and the importance of safety and privacy. I'm feeling pretty confident in my DM skills now, but I know there's even more to learn, right?
You're absolutely right. In our final segment, we'll be looking at how to leverage TikTok DMs for collaboration and marketing. It's where things get really interesting for creators, businesses, and anyone who wants to take their TikTok game to the next level.
Okay, now I'm really excited. Let's take a quick breather to process all this amazing information, and we'll be back soon for the grand finale of our TikTok DM deep dive. Okay, listeners, we're back for the final part of our deep dive into TikTok direct messages. We've covered the basics, the group chat thing, even the safety stuff. But now it's time to get strategic. are source material hints at using DMs for like collaborations and marketing. And I'm ready to hear how these DMs can really be game changers.
It's all about leveraging that direct connection to build something bigger. Think about it. You admire a creator's work. You've been engaging with their content, maybe even dropping some thoughtful comments.
Hmm.
A DM can be that next step, taking that conversation further.
So it's like going from being a fan in the audience to having a backstage pass.
Exactly. Instead of just liking a video, you send a DM saying, "Hey, I loved how you used that transition effect. What inspired you?" Suddenly you're not just a username, you're a person who genuinely appreciates their craft.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense for connecting with creators you like, but what about using DMs for actual collaborations? I'm picturing like those epic TikTok duets, but maybe that's too simplistic.
Collaborations can take a lot of different forms.
Yeah.
Yeah, from those fun duets to joint projects that really blend your unique styles. But the key is, again, that personalized approach. Don't just DM someone out of the blue and say, "Hey, let's make a video."
Right. That's like proposing on a first date.
Yeah,
Probably not the best approach.
exactly. You got to build some rapport first. Engage with their content.
Right.
Show some genuine interest. Then when you do reach out, you can say something like, "Hey, I've been loving your recent videos, and I had an idea for a collab. I think it would be a perfect fit for both of our styles."
It's about adding value, not just asking for something. That makes me think about brands and businesses too. Can DMs really be a good marketing tool on TikTok?
Absolutely. Think
Yeah.
about it. Instead of just pushing out ads to a huge audience, you're connecting with people individually, offering exclusive deals, sharing behind-the-scenes content. It's all about building relationships, not just transactions.
It's like the difference between a cold sales call and having a friendly chat with someone who's actually interested in what you're offering.
Exactly. But like any marketing strategy, it needs to be done thoughtfully. You don't want to spam people with generic messages. Think about your audience. What kind of content would they find valuable? What problems can you help them solve?
So it's about providing solutions, not just pushing products. And I imagine timing is key too.
Right.
You wouldn't want to bombard someone with messages the second they follow you.
Right. It's about finding that sweet spot between staying top of mind and respecting their space.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you send a welcome message a few days after they follow you, or you DM them with an exclusive offer when they like a specific video or something.
It's like those personalized recommendations you get on online shopping sites, but instead of algorithms, it's a real person making the connection.
Exactly. And the great thing about DMs is that you can have real conversations, get feedback, and really tailor your approach based on individual responses. It's a level of personalization that you just can't get with traditional marketing.
Wow, this has been really eye-opening. We've gone from feeling kind of intimidated by those little DMs to seeing them as powerful tools for connecting, collaborating, and even growing a business.
And that's really what it's all about, right? Understanding how to use these tools to create meaningful interactions and reach our goals.
Well said. So there you have it, listeners. We've unlocked the secrets of TikTok direct messages from the basics to the strategic stuff. Remember, the most important things are to be authentic, be respectful, and most of all, have fun. Now go out there and DM like a pro.